Coming up today on Rookie Rory, we've got two tough games in the Bundesliga. First up, hosting the defending champions in Borussia Dortmund, and then away to Borussia Mönchengladbach. But fingers crossed, off the back of yesterday's episode, we've found the one formation that might work consistently. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 66 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Jahn Regensburg. I hope you're doing well and come up to date. As I said during that brief intro, Borussia Dortmund at home, the defending champions by a big margin last year here in the Bundesliga. And then off the back of Werder Bremen, who we hopefully should beat. They're actually doing a decent job so far this season. The best of those newly promoted teams from this via Bundesliga will travel away and take on Borussia Mönchengladbach, who actually are all the way down in 14th. But to be fair, it is still quite early days here in our second season up in the Bundesliga. But hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. It comes off the back of yesterday's episode where we did take on both Bayern Munich as well as Bayer Leverkusen. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. A little bit unlucky, I felt like, in both those games with the results. We got late goal to Bayern as they turned around a 1-0 deficit to beat us 2-1. And then we absolutely dominated Bayer Leverkusen, but it took a late equaliser to pick up a 1-1 draw. Thankfully, off the back of that episode, we've continued to look actually really good here with that 4-3-3 that we're using. First up, a full rotation pretty much as we played our first league phase game of the Conference League this season. We took on Dunkum away from home and a very commanding 5-0 win here. Goals to Pevicic, he picked up a double from corners. Also, Toffin Lazar in the first half, and Buller came on and got one in injury time. So that was a pretty comprehensive win. Did try late on in this game, going with a higher defensive line and a higher line of engagement, a higher press here with this 4-3-3. And to be fair, it did look like it might have made a bit of a difference with those two goals that we did pick up there inside the last 15 or so minutes. You can see there too, that match momentum, it did pick up quite a bit off the back of that change that I did make. So a good result there to kick off the Conference League. Does actually mean after one game played that we are top of the table. And then we tried that high defensive line when we took on Hoffenheim away from home in the Bundesliga prior to a international break. To be fair, this was a game I was kind of hopeful that we could win. It's been a little bit of a tough start to the season outside of that Wolfsburg game with the teams that we have been taking on. Hoffenheim not expected to be super bad, but certainly a team that I feel like, based on our performance so far here, that we could beat them. Thankfully, that was the case. A 2-1 win here away from home. Stats-wise, this one was actually pretty even. Big moment when Borussia had a penalty saved from Owusu Adulo, and it did prove a big one, seeing as they only scored the one goal there just before halftime to equalise off the back of an early Rene Miller goal. But just off the back of halftime, Fabrizio Lucchini did put one away, and we pick up a 2-1 win. As I said, that game a lot more even, but thankfully just find a way there to come away with a win, despite the fact that we didn't actually play as well as Hoffenheim there based on those stats, albeit their XG obviously did get bumped up by that penalty. But thankfully, our new Dutch goalkeeper came up there with a big save and did pick up man of the match. So we've picked up a couple of wins off back of yesterday's episode, as I said, on top of the Conference League. You'd imagine with the fixtures we've got in that competition, we should be going through as one of the top 8 teams. We'll check on that later this season when we take on Atlanta in one of our last couple of games. So it does mean that off the back of that win and the one against Wolfsburg in yesterday's episode, we do sit in 5th. It's a big old gap already behind the top 3 teams in Bayern, Eintracht Frankfurt and Borussia Dortmund. So that draw I picked up off camera against Frankfurt going to yesterday's episode, actually not too bad. And we are down in 5th. We're only on 9 points. It's still a pretty big logjam there in mid-table, but looking decent early stages. Bit surprised that we are up that high with only the 2 wins from our 6 games. But thankfully, anyone who's not in those top 3 teams are struggling here currently in the Bundesliga. So hopefully can find a way here to pick up some results during the course of today's episode, albeit this first game. It is going to be very tough. We take on Borussia Dortmund. It is at home, but still, these guys were very dominant in the Bundesliga last season, winning it by about 15 points, I think it was, over Bayern Munich. So these guys pretty comfortable coming into this one as defending champions, even though they did lose the Super Cup to Bayern at the start of the season. Their recent form, though, actually not that great. A loss there either side of the international break in Champions League action. That was against Man City as well as Monaco, but they have done quite well in the Bundesliga, obviously sitting as one of those top 3 teams, and they actually, despite sitting in 3rd, have a perfect record. So really, they're the team there sitting and waiting to go back on top of the table if they pick up a result here, as they'd expect to. And I've also just noticed too, if we look again at their Bundesliga table, they're yet to concede a single goal in 5 games played. So these guys are very solid defensively. We're not quite there yet. Our goal scoring, it's quite good defensively though. We've been a little bit average early on this season. Hopefully that move to a high defensive line, it might pay off here in today's episode. And also, we're going to stick with the 4-3-3 because it's working a bit better than our other formations. So if we go back there to the form we've had so far this season, you'll see a lot better form with the 4-3-3 than what we've shown with those other formations. So fingers crossed here it carries over into the 3 games. I'll make my way through in today's episode, but the first one, it is going to be pretty tough as we take on Dortmund, especially because we are missing a player who got injured quite early in the international window. Neuer's some sprained ankle ligaments when he was on duty there with Israel is out for 5 days to 3 weeks. Thankfully, did skip a good week and a half there of that rehab with that international break, but still, that is a bit of a major injury. So it does mean we're going back to one of our strikers acting as a bit of right wing cover as well. So it does mean Levente Toft will cover 2 positions on the bench, and Adama Kamara can make his way back on there as more of an attacking midfielder if we need one to come on there for Lucchini, who, to be fair, has done a pretty good job here so far this season. But that's our only injury concern going into this first game of today's episode. Also, though, we've got Uwe Dorn on a heavy workload, so it does mean that Hennig comes in there at left back. We'll try Ethan Batera as a left back option off the bench. Fingers crossed we don't need to, but he can do a job there. It's not too bad in terms of our squad for this game, as you'd hope for when you take on the best team here in Germany. I think it's fair to say, based on what we've seen so far since we've come up to the top flight. To be fair, we took on Dortmund both times last season. We didn't do too bad a job away from home. We kind of got battered, as you'd expect, in front of the yellow wall at home, though. I think from memory, we kept things relatively tight. We'll see how we go here with this 4-3-3, which is performing well, especially just switching to a bit of a higher defensive line, because I did notice in our game so far we have been conceding goals, and a lot of them have been quite unlucky deflection type goals and own goals that we've been scoring from opposition shots. So fingers crossed that if we move a bit higher, they'll get less chances to do that, and maybe we'll concede less goals. But as I mentioned before, just hanging in there at left back, and that change on the bench, seeing as unfortunately Lazar is out with that injury he did pick up on Israel due. Borussia Dortmund as well are going with a 4-3-3, but it's been a little while, I think, since we've taken these guys on camera here in this series, because last year there were some bigger games around the Dortmund one involving teams in the European chase with us. These guys were so far clear. We kind of banked on the fact that we'd lose them. So we'll see here how we get on. Obviously this season, while they sit down in third, they're still doing quite well in the Bundesliga, Champions League wise. That's where they're struggling, but 5 wins from 5, and they haven't conceded a goal lately with this 4-3-3. We've been really good in front of goal, so we'll see if we can break down this Dortmund team. Unfortunately, Walden does pick up there an early yellow card. That's going to be a bit of an issue at half-time, and in fact, off the back of getting him to ease off tackles, it does cancel out there a little bit of a highlight. Now, Fabian Fernandes with an orange injury, so this could be a little bit of a blow for us going into the second half. Might be Levente Toft coming on here at right wing, and of course the Burke we are at left wing, because it looks like Fernandes isn't quite recovering from that knock that he's picked up. First half so far has been very, very quiet, a bit surprisingly considering our goal scoring form lately with this 4-3-3, and Dortmund being Dortmund, thought they might break us apart here a little bit more easily, but no highlights in that first half. Will make those subs, as we suggested, might be the case. So Tofter at right wing also get him to ease off tackles, and De Burke here for Fernandes. Fingers crossed that injury is not too bad, because he's actually been quite useful as almost a second striker on that inside forward role from left wing. One of the ones we changed there going to the start of the season, but that first half, very quiet. Stats wise though, we're matching it pretty well here with this Dortmund team. So might be a way here we can actually get something out of this game. Fingers crossed. When we do get a chance, we make the most of it. But now Tilo Haasman has picked up a yellow card. We'll take him off here for Zeno Schneier, who is on the bench going a bit better than Tygo Land. And also Land did pick up a little bit of an injury recently, and he can cover Cam a bit more. So if we put Kamara on the bench, don't really need to have both him and Land sitting on there. But finally a highlight in this game, but it is the Dortmund just past the hour marker, thrown inside of the final third. Good block there from Schneider, but unfortunately Dortmund find a way there to get back on the ball. Ruben on a yellow card plays that one in there to Montero. Andre plays it for the Jonas win. Lovely through ball that for Oslo, but thankfully he puts that one quite safely wide. A big chance there for Dortmund. They finally cut us apart, but they don't make the most of it. So that's the only highlight we've seen so far in this game. There's only 20 minutes left. Now, Rene Müller is having a stinker up front. Unfortunately, can't sub him off with the lack of Lazar for this one. But what we might do is try Toff up front instead of him. Just also looking at who else maybe we could consider subbing off. There's Henning and there's Ruslan Pavicic. Has been pretty good lately in terms of when we used him. Obviously, that Conference League performance did help him out. Now, about to be a highlight here. Was just going to wait and see if it's for us or Dortmund. It's for Dortmund. We'll see if taking off Ruslan for Pavicic, as I suggested, might be a good play here to try and cut out this highlight. Also just checking in there too on who else might be getting a bit tired soon. And I've clicked the wrong button. No individual team talks here for a sub that we're going to make. But unfortunately, we do still see the free kick here to Dortmund. They dink that one over the top. They get it back there to Kun, who starts to make his way forward. He shakes off there, our man far too easily in defence. Takes on the shot. Thankfully, it comes off the woodwork. We kind of clear it away, and Bino Giddens takes it out there for a goal. Kicks to Dortmund, getting the chances here in the second half, but thankfully they're not quite taking them. About to make our way to the final 10 minutes of this game now. Rene Müller at right wing is still kind of sucking, so I think Alex Jimenez can do a bit of a job at right wing. We can take off Müller and bring on Joshua Rawlins here with our final sub, so it's not ideal with no new Lazar. Definitely that would be the sub there that we would like to make, especially back when Walden was on that yellow card at half time. But Rawlins for Müller here is going to have to do. But so far, it's been a pretty quiet game. Dortmund a bit more on top here in the second half. But somehow, looks like we're going to find a way to keep them quiet and be the first team to take points off them this season. To be fair, that probably wasn't the most entertaining game to come back for. But it was Borussia Dortmund, and they were supposed to be really good. But that's actually quite a good result for us there, even though you didn't see us do too much there with that 4-3-3. But the fact that we're finally taking some points off Dortmund, I think is quite encouraging off the back of some good results previously against the likes of Hoffenheim and Wolfsburg, and of course that game in the Conference League. So I still think the 4-3-3 is going quite well for us. In a couple of days' time, I've got Werder Bremen, that one at home. Fingers crossed we can beat them, even if we have to rotate just a little bit with a short backup with those guys having been down in this Zweite Bundesliga last season. That's the team, of course, that we did sell Dylan Murican to. They've gone up to 8th off the back of a win over Augsburg. So actually, that game might be a bit tougher than I'm making out, but fingers crossed can find a way to win that one before we come back for a trip to Borussia Mönchengladbach. And here are the highlights from that game against Werder Bremen, and thankfully a late change to the 4-3-3 because I did start this one for the 4-2-3-1. I thought it would be fine, especially as our analyst did recommend it. But no, for the first hour of this game, we were quite poor. Switch to it there at the hour mark, and you'll see if we check out the match momentum, once we went to that 4-3-3, it definitely helped a quick fire double there to Ruslan from a corner, and then Lewis Walden did get played in behind quite nicely. That was from Lucchini. So thankfully a few late goals there to pick up a 2-0 win over Werder Bremen. No sign there of our former American and Dylan Murican, but thankfully get a result there over a team that has come up from the Zweite Bundesliga and so far are doing a decent job. So all of a sudden, we're picking up some decent points here in the Bundesliga and actually have snuck inside of a Champions League qualifying spot. As I said, so a little bit surprised about that with only 3 wins from our first 8 games. So I suppose the main thing, unlike last season, we are drawing a lot more than we are losing. So hopefully that might be something that continues and we can hold on to a Champions League or a Europa League qualifying spot if we stay here long enough. And of course, we don't get in there automatically off the back of fingers crossed doing quite well in the Conference League as well. But sitting there on 13 points, and a lot of teams behind us have already played on this match day as well. So a chance for us here to firmly establish ourselves inside of this top 4 against the Gladbach team, who while only 4 points behind us are all the way down in 12th place. So based on form so far, this might be quite a winnable game, even though it is away from home against a team who were expected to finish in 6th. These guys were just above us last season, qualifying for the Europa League so far. They've been a bit mixed in that competition, losing to Manchester United, but beating Copenhagen. And off the back of that, they did lose to Leipzig, drew with Borussia Dortmund, which isn't too bad as we found out before. And they did beat Freiburg. So if you're their former, not too dissimilar to ours, despite the fact that they are further down the table. They have played one less game, though, away from home. Let's see what we can do against Rene Weather and his 4-2-3-1, going back for this one to the 4-3-3, because I think I learned in that game I played off camera that we should just stick with it. But a couple more changes we have got for the second game of today's episode. Lazar is still out with injury, is in his rehab period, but unfortunately is still out for another couple of weeks. But also in that first game, Fabian Fernandes did get somewhat forced from the field there, an orange injury at halftime. It turns out that was actually quite serious, some pulled knee ligaments. So he's out for 7 days to 2 weeks. Of that is a bit more of a blow. Our wonder kid signing here in the off season is out, and you can see there so far done a pretty good job in helping our strikers in scoring goals. And that can be quite useful because our strikers here can go through a few dry patches. And also, we have got a player missing on international duty. That would be Adama Kamara. For some reason, they are in Africa. They've got currently something going on with the under-23s. Maybe it's Olympic qualifying there, so he's busy with the Guinea under-23. So it does mean that coming up from our B team is good old Max Meyer. He makes his way back onto the bench. He's registered the Conference League, so it kind of makes sense that we put him there as someone who can cover left wing with no Fernandes and also do a job a bit further forward centrally if we do switch for some reason to a 4-2-3-1. So a couple more changes for this game, but apart from that, we're in quite good nick. Away Dawn's recovered from that heavy workload he had going to that first game. In today's episode, we'll see if the 4-3-3 here can pick up a result against a decent team away from home, because so far it's fair to say we've taken on some teams, I'd say, a little bit below Gladbach with this formation and done quite decently. Let's see if we can back up here against a team who look like they might be a little bit better away from home. Obviously, the result against Dortmund was pretty good, but that was at the Jahn Regensburg. This might be a little bit tougher, but Gladbach have not been too good so far, but the recent form is quite similar to ours. So fingers crossed here we find a way to take something off them with a formation which is doing an okay job. That high defensive line has seemed to help in those last couple of games. We have kept 2 straight clean sheets, so I'm hopeful that that might have figured out our defensive frailties here with the Jahn Regensburg team as we start to make our way through here the pre-match interview, and we get through it relatively quickly up until that last question. And we are now here at Borussia Park, and Gladbach indeed are going with the 4-2-3-1 that their manager does usually like, and we are going with our 4-3-3, which all of a sudden is becoming our go-to here at Jahn Regensburg. That's the reason that we didn't sign anyone on deadline day in that deep line forward role, like I suggested might be the case there in yesterday's episode. To be fair, we did try, but he turned us down. He wanted a ridiculous contract, and we couldn't give him that. So unfortunately, the 4-4-2 might not be getting used too much more here this season, just because still can't quite find a way to make it work. And also, if we don't have Moritz Buller, we're kind of screwed with that deep line forward situation. But this 4-3-3 currently doing quite well, albeit as I say that it's a corner here to Gladbach, the first one we do see in this game, thankfully. Just enough aerial ping pong there to clear the ball away, but Shea puts that into the mix with Ruslan. A very dodgy clearance, but thankfully they put that one across the face of goal. It gets put back into the mix of the by a Gladbach player. Definitely no chance of that one being a goal because our goalkeeper caught it, but we just do enough there to hold on for the back of a poor Ruslan pass, but then another chance from set piece, and Mark Gu will put that one away. So unfortunately, Gladbach have been all over us early here in this game. I'm not too sure how no one has got up to challenge the player who's put that one away in Guo, but unfortunately they make it 1-0, so the 4-3-3 might be about to get chopped down. This was a team our analysts did recommend going with the 4-4-2 against with, but the 4-3-3 has been going so well for us recently, I thought we may as well stick with it. Now I'm starting to wonder if that was such a good idea, and a few yellow cards here too in this first half. Away Dawn's really struggling on a 6.3, and Haasman also not going super well. But a late free kick here, Ruslan puts it over the top. Haasman actually a lovely header forward, and Rene Müller will put that one away. Pretty sure that might be our first attack of this game. It's a little bit cheeky, that header forward there from Thilo Haasman, so he gets a bit of an assist there before we might take him off at half time. But that free kick, I'm pretty sure, was supposed to go to Berkeley, but Haasman just flicks on a Müller, just able to put that one past the goalkeeper at that left-hand side post. So our only attack so far of this half, and we make it count and go into half-time somehow locked up at 1-1. So thankfully, our deficiencies there from set piece and defence don't prove too costly. This one all square. We'll take off the players here on yellow cards. Henning, he can come on at left back, and Schneier yet again for Haasman, quite good there with that assist. But the centre mid on a yellow card, I don't like that too much, but quite fortunate here that we've got this locked up at 1-1. Tell the guys though, they haven't really been that good in the first half, because certainly that's the most shaky we've looked so far when using this 4-3-3, and thankfully might have woken us up here at halftime on the ball early here in the second half. Lopez will fizz it out to Jimenez in space down this right-hand side. Lovely ball in there for Lewis Walden, who misses a target. In fact, no, he doesn't. It's a brilliant save from the Gladbach goalkeepers. All of a sudden, we're on top here in this game. Unfortunately, can't quite make it. Count to Berkweir will float that one far post, but unfortunately, Peretz backs up that good save by claiming that one, as we looked at should have been for Walden at the far post. But now it's Alex Jimenez who picks up a yellow card, as does Lucchini. So a couple of subs here. Tygo Land is on the bench replacing Kamara on international duty, so he can come on there in the advanced playmaker role. And Joshua Rawlins at right back. The Australian finally starting to put some decent performances together there when we bring him on at right back. Because last season, the second part of it, once we signed him, he was a little bit average. And now, just past the hour mark, I was thinking about Berkweir coming off for Meyer with our final sub on a 6.3. But to be fair, Lewis Walden is now down to a red heart. So I think that final sub might be better used here with Levente Toff coming on at right wing. Two strikers. To be fair, Walden, of course, was a striker before we changed that role for him. That could be quite useful. Another corner there to Gladbach, but this time we cleared away, and Henning gets a chance here to get us going on the counter-attack for some reason down that right-hand side. So a little bit here out of position, but to be fair, we're keeping the ball and looking quite dangerous. Snyder there will run backwards and pick out Toff, who for some reason is at left wing. He takes on the shot, and again, that might have forced a good save out of the Gladbach goalkeeper. Indeed, it did. So a couple here of good chances in the second half to put this one away. Can we do something from the set piece? Yes, we can. Ruslan will loop that one over the goalkeeper into the top left corner. Our big Georgian giant will put it away and make it 2-1. So the club captain has helped us here turn around a 1-0 deficit. Fingers crossed. This might be a bit of payback for that Bayern Munich game that we had yesterday, where I felt a little bit dirty about how that one did go down. But unfortunately, Gladbach are back on the ball shortly off the back of that equaliser. But so far, putting a decent press on them, and good work there from Rawlins. And all of a sudden, might be a chance for us here on the counter-attack. Lovely ball, that one out to the Berkweir down our left-hand side. Plays it back there to Henning, who, to be fair, does have some much fresher legs. We knock it about here and go back to Ruslan. And let's see if we can find a way here to create another goal-scoring chance, because one more with only 20 or so minutes left might put this game to bed. We've definitely got better since half-time. Let's see if we can make it count and really put the foot down. Lovely work there from Henning to actually beat his man there down that left-hand side. Superb there from our backup left back. This is that one into the mixer. We've still got low crosses turned on here with our tactics off the back of trying it with that 4-4-2. And he squares it nicely, and Levente Toff can put it away and make it 3-1. So that might be super important in this game. Good little burst there just past the hour mark. Ruslan and then Levente Toff off the bench help us make it 3-1. So fingers crossed now we can hold on so far all our shots on target, albeit now it is a corner to Borussia Mönchengladbach. For some reason, Kremeshi, we're supposed to be tightly marking him. We don't do it from a set piece. Curves that one brilliantly into the top right corner, but still, that's pretty poor. We're supposed to be tightly marking him. He's been given there a ton of space. I guess our set piece defense must be focusing on the tall players, because he got a ton of time there and was able to put that one away. So unfortunately, that one does mean it's now 3-2. Only got that one goal cushion. We hopefully can stretch it back out though to 2 as we are on the ball. Henning does start to make his way forward again. Tries to beat his man there down that left-hand side, but this time can't quite pull it off. And now it's Gladbach here who are on the ball with a little bit of momentum. Their passing here is looking quite dangerous. Koza starts to make his way forward. Nice ball forward there for the goal scorer previously in Guiu, but thankfully Owusu Adolu comes up with a good save. So still got our 3-2 lead, but now a set piece, and this time they make us pay to be fair. The second time in this game, it's Collins who puts it away, and we've blown a 2-goal lead in relatively short order. Still 15 minutes left in this game. I dare say there might be some more goals coming, and that is a concern. It's now 3. All the momentum is back with Borussia Mönchengladbach, so that is not ideal. Fingers crossed here we can actually find a way to wrestle that momentum back, but unfortunately a free kick here to Gladbach. They head that one down, and Krivak pops up with his first goal of the season. That is some sort of routine. He buries it into the top left corner. We've blown a 3-1 lead, and we go 4-3 down, so that is definitely not good. What we're going to do here is go more attacking with our rolls late on. We've now got those 2 midfielders that can go attacking with a sentiment instead of a deep line playmaker. So fingers crossed that might be useful in this situation. but not too happy with how we've folded late here off the back of that good little burst to make it 3-1. That's seriously a super weird free kick routine. It pays off though. Guo will pick up an assist. He's having an absolute blinder, and they make it 4-3. We'll go attacking. Fingers crossed he can find a way to grab an equaliser, because so far we've been on the attack. We've been pretty efficient with our shots, but it's not unlikely inside the final minute of this game. And now we're over time. A late corner here to Berkouillet will pick out Ruslan at the near post. He heads it home, and thankfully we should now get something out of this game. Corners have had a big impact in this one. Ruslan with 2 goals, and also they've been free scored from Gladbach's ones, those 2 that they put away at the near post, and also that one that they took edge of the box. For some reason, Kramashi not being tightly marked like we told our team to, and he put that one away. So in the end, it's a very entertaining 4-4 draw. Certainly should make up for that Dortmund game we had burst up in today's episode. A little bit frustrated that we did blow a 3-1 lead, but still, to come back and get a point from that game is not too bad. Us and Gladbach do tend to play some pretty interesting games, it feels like, here in the safe. So quite happy that we've got something there away from home. Certainly still feels like the 4-3-3 is our best formation at the moment, but that time it was very patchy. A couple of spells in that game where we did look really good, but defensively at times also quite poor, really for the first time since we did move to that higher defensive line. But to be fair, as I said, quite a bit of that did come from set pieces. Not too sure how much we can blame our tactical nous for that, but certainly gave away there a lot of free kicks and corner opportunities, and it did prove costly. Thankfully, the referee there just let that game continue long enough to make sure Ruslan could grab an equaliser. Certainly going to praise the referees there for that little bit of extra time that they did fine for us. It does mean that we do stay in 4th spot off the back of that entertaining 4-all draw at Gladbach. So a little bit botley there second up in today's episode, but in the end we do quite well to pick up a draw there at Gladbach. A very entertaining game and a nice little burst there just past the hour mark. Henning, some brilliant work there for that 3rd goal we did score through the Vente off. Unfortunately, then we got botley from some set pieces, but thankfully Ruslan popped up with an equaliser in the 97th minute, so that might be a big point come the end of the season. It does mean we keep ourselves in 4th there on the Bundesliga table. Dortmund playing right now looks like they'll win, so they'll probably go back up there to 20 points, still unbeaten, but have drawn a few games during the course there of today's episode. So it does mean Bayern are now on top with a couple of extra points there with that one more win that they have picked up. But we are not too badly placed, even though it's just the 3 wins from our first 9 games there, as I mentioned earlier in today's episode. A lot more draws, which is the reason that we are so high up there, seeing as lots of teams not picking up wins all that often, apart from those top 3, Bayern, Dortmund, and Eintracht Frankfurt, who for now sit in that 2nd spot. But that will do it for today's episode. Some draws there, which were honestly not too bad considering the quality of opposition that we did take on, helped out, of course, by that win I picked up over Werder Bremen off camera. If you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Now, what we come back for at the start of next week, we've got the Conference League coming up next with the fixture that we have in a few days' time. That should be quite easy work, and thankfully a chance for us there to rotate off the back of those last 3 games that we have had. We take on Corona Kielce. Those guys are all the way over in Poland. That should be relatively easy, especially looking at their league form as well. So really a chance for us there to rotate like we did in that Kukuriki Stankum game. Freiburg could be interesting. They did take us there to extra time in the cup last season when they were coming up from the Zweite Bundesliga, but surely an 18th at home, that's another game that we can win. Then though, Wolfsburg in the 2nd round of the DFB Pokal obviously freshed them with that 5-2 win in between games in yesterday's episode, but 2nd round of the cup, hopefully can go a few steps further than last season. We might come back for that game, seeing as off the back of that, we take on RB Leipzig away from home. Those guys just were able to shut us down last season, but of course these days, they do have Jurgen Klopp in charge, so we'll see how they look these days with Jurgen Klopp there in charge at the Red Bull Arena. So we'll come back at the start of next week for RB Leipzig, and before then, Wolfsburg in the DFB Pokal 2nd round. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.